Madelyn F. High school GPAs are way more comparable than the ACT or SAT to comparing high school students. This comes from Elaine Ellsworth, a professor at the University of Chicago, from Educational Researcher, published in 2015. Everyone in this room at one point has taken a standardized test, and everyone understands the pressure that comes along with it. I believe that four-year universities should not require the ACT or SAT for college admissions. First, I'm going to talk about the problems that comes along with requiring standardized testing for college admissions. Secondly, I will talk about how a solution for this problem. This next information comes from Catherine Hofsas, a PhD in psychology from Numerous Teen Health, published in 2021. The first problem I'm going to talk about is test anxiety. Test anxiety is a type of performance anxiety that comes from when your performance dictates how well your outcome is going to be. So, for example, taking the ACT, it really depends on how you do on this test because you want to get scholarships and you want to get into the college you want to get into. So there's a lot of pressure on students when they take these tests and overall on everyone. Next, Nathaniel von der Imbes, a psychology professor at the University of South Florida, from the Journal of Affective Disorders, published in 2018. Test anxiety continuously negatively affects students in many different ways. In many different studies, they have seen that test anxiety, the higher it is, the lower the scores. And that's just something that has come from this research. And it has continued to show itself over and over and over again. Next, I will talk about why high school GPAs are a better comparison than the ACT or SAT. When colleges look at high school GPAs, they often seem incomparable to the ACT or SAT. But in all actuality, college readiness is way more depictable on your high school GPAs. If students are willing to work harder to improve their ACT or their GPA, it shows a lot more on their work ethic and their higher achievement rather than studying a lot for a single test just to get like a 32 or something. And it shows that they are willing to work hard. Now, Andrew Foote, a psychologist professor from the University of Oklahoma, from the Economics of Educational Review, published in 2015, says that students who are put under standardized testing treatment do not respond in the same way that they do when they try to work hard on their high school GPAs. Now that I have talked about the problems with requiring standardized testing for college admissions, I will talk about a solution to this problem. One solution to this problem is test optional policies, which we saw a lot during the COVID pandemic since students could not get out to take their ACTs. And test optional policies are when your ACT or SAT is not required for your college admissions. Although it might help you to get into college if you put these in with your application, schools that, if you don't put it in, they look at your coursework and your GPAs. Now, Christopher Bennett, a PhD in educational policy from Vanderbilt University, from the American Research Journal, published in 2021, says that schools that implemented test optional policies saw a 3 to 4% increase in their Pell Grant recipients. They also saw a 10 to 12% in first-time underrepresented racial classes. And they also saw a 6 to 8% in first-time women applications. Stephen Syverson, an assistant vice chancellor from the enrollment management at the University of Bothell from the National Association for College Admission Counseling, published in 2018, says that schools that implemented test optional policies saw zero effect on their academics. Their GPAs for their students and their graduation rates did not change at all. First, I talked about the problems with requiring standardized testing. Lastly, I talked about a solution to this problem. I believe that four-year universities should not require the ACT or SAT for college admissions. Remember that I talked about high school GPAs are way more comparable than the ACT when you're looking at comparing students for college admissions. I believe that four-year universities should look at implementing test optional policies to look at students for college readiness by looking at their student involvement and GPAs. Thank you.
5,